Just one final matter on New Zealand cricket. That's the timing of the HRV Cup final where New Zealand players couldn't play. Now, there's a lot of money that comes into New Zealand cricket. Bit of a scheduling problem there. I'd like to have seen our very best players playing in order to have the best team represented.
Oh, I totally agree. It's just amazing that it's only a day or two either way. They definitely should have had... That should have been a marquee event of the season, and all the top players should have been available to play in that match if their team was in the final. That was terrible that 3 on one team and 4 on the other couldn't play in the final.
All right, let's move offshore now and we'll start talking about the Ashes. In my time, I've never seen a team capitulate as England have, from a dominant position, previously won 3 series all over Australia, to virtually giving up halfway through the tour.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, Flintoff led a team out a few years ago that held the Ashes and went out there and lost 5-0, but they should have won the test in Adelaide, and they fought a lot harder through the rest of the season than what this latest England team did. This was amazing. It was like Keystone Cops. Trott went home, Swan retired, Pryor got dropped, Peterson's been dumped. I mean, it was all the star players have gone, and it all happened over a few months. And what's more, you thought if they played for the rest of the year, they weren't going to win any more matches. I mean, in the whole summer, they won one day when that series was already finished. So they just did nothing whatsoever for the whole summer.
Again, though, you look at the top, the management, you mentioned that the part of the success of the New Zealand, you've got Cook and Flower, who were the leadership team, through great success. Why suddenly can they not pull a team together?
Well, if you want to be into it a bit, I think the England team was slightly over the top, actually. That was one thing. I think a few of them is just a year past their best. Certainly people like Jimmy Anderson, maybe Trott, Peterson, and possibly even Cook. I don't know about whether Cook will come again. So Cook captained them when they were right at their peak, and they were fine players. I actually don't think he's a great captain. For instance, McCullum is a miles more proactive captain on the field than Cook. Cook's quite a solid personality, but you just want him there opening the batting and making runs. He's not a guy to lead a team, I don't think. So that's the first thing. Flower has had a very successful era, but it's very regimented, and I just wonder if he has the flexibility when things don't quite go right.
And what's your take on Peterson? He's forced retirement, still 32, 33, so there's cricket left in him, but he's been trouble from day one, isn't he?
Has he? I don't know. He's made a lot of runs from day one, I know that. I'd have taken him in my team. I think he's a great player, actually. He makes the best bowling look pretty ordinary sometimes. I just wonder how well he's managed. Or is he unmanageable? It's hard to know. I didn't see anything following that Ashes series that made me think this guy should never play for New Zealand, for Australia. This guy should never play for England again. I just didn't see that. It was amazing. They got back home and suddenly everybody, including Cook, wants him out forever.
Well, he did get forgiven for something that I thought was atrocious, the behaviour, the interchange between the dressing rooms in a previous series. So he's had a few chances.
Oh, that was disgraceful when he texted about Strauss. That was shocking. Yeah, he was lucky to get back. But since he got back, I thought he'd pulled his head in a bit and was trying pretty hard. Certainly the players in the team were saying he's very, full of team spirit, trying hard for the team. No one trained harder and so on. It was a real surprise to me. I mean, he made a lot of runs in the series. No England player did great, but he did the best out of what was there. To drop him it's astonishing to me.
Right, we better move on to some other subjects. We've thrashed cricket there. We'll go to the Tennis Open. Nadal, another injury of convenience, I call it, in the final. I thought that's, I thought that was a little bit unfair.
Oh, no, I think that's unfair saying that. He was clearly injured. I mean, you could not ever quibble with Nadal through his career. I mean, he's a fighter. He was hobbled in that final. I think that was obvious for everyone to see. Even the Aussies who were booing him for a start. So no, I didn't think... I felt very sorry for him, and in fact it's happened 3 times in the Australian Open for him. He lost to Ferrer a few years ago as well, same sort of thing. He's been very unlucky. Having said that, not to take anything away from Wawrinka, he won the first set on his merits. He'd made the final already and he looked great, and so maybe he's moved up a notch and he's in that top echelon now. He was terrific, but I did feel very sorry for Nadal. I think that tournament was primed for him to win.
Yeah, I remain a bit suspicious. He won a set after he got injured, so it sort of worked out for him.
But he won the set, Tommy. he only won the set because Wawrinka was spent the whole set looking at Nadal, not thinking about his own game. I mean, Nadal wasn't serving or running. If you watch that set in isolation now, you'd laugh at it because, I mean, Nadal never ran and Wawrinka had everything in the net or out. There was no tennis played in that set.
Wawrinka had beaten Djokovic. It was a good tournament for him. I mean, he took out some big names. He didn't get a dream run through.
No, I think he beat Berdych as well. He totally deserved to be in the final, and it was great that he won it. I feel sorry for him that it was under those circumstances. Although in 10 years' time, there's no asterisk on the honours board. It just says Wawrinka won it, and that's that.
And Lee Na, I thought maybe she was a one-hit wonder, but she's always been there or thereabouts and pushed on this time around. Yeah,
so this was her third Australian Open final, and she's already run the French, so she's obviously a good player. She hits pretty big ground strokes, and she's consistent, but that's all. I don't think she's a great player. I tell you what odds would you have got on Lee Na and Wawrinka at the start of the tournament, of that double?
And Marina Rakovic won her first round and beat a seeded player. That looked quite promising, but couldn't back it up.
Yeah, she's continually disappointing, isn't she, really? I mean, she never puts together a string of big wins in an important event. She won a tournament in 2013 of not great consequence, and for a person who's ranked inside the top 50 a lot of the time, she doesn't really, to me, look like a big player.
She's disappointing. The New Zealand men pale by comparison. People are trying to retire off Roger Federer. He's in the semi-final. I think we can't get anyone through the qualifier.
You know, that's true. And then we've just had a Davis Cup tie that no one even knew about. I mean, I think that would be the lowest profile Davis Cup match New Zealand's played in 50 years. I mean, we lost to China and no one even knew we were playing them. There were no reports on it or anything. It's really hard to find the results, but we lost.
Where did we play it?
Yeah, exactly. Maybe in Invercargill. No, it was in China, Tom.
All right, let's talk about Commonwealth Games. I want to just touch on that because it's struggling for survival, trying to find someone to host it. Are we in danger of saying goodbye to this event in the near future?
Could be. I must say, when you're there, it's a great event. Everyone speaks English, which is nice, and it's quite a friendly. I mean, it's not Christchurch 1974, but it's still a very friendly event. The athletes are much closer than they are at an Olympics, okay? And for 95% of the athletes there, it's a really big deal, like obviously the sevens and the netballers, but also a lot of other sports where this will be the biggest thing they play in. Lawn bowls and a lot of, for instance, if you pick New Zealand, a lot of swimmers are going to struggle at an Olympics, but they have an outside shot at a medal at the Commonwealth Games, and it's a very big event and it's important to them. So when you're there, it's quite a significant event, but in looking at it globally, it's slipping down the ladder a long way, and you can see that it doesn't have quite the attraction, I suppose, in terms of TV rights and so on, and therefore why would a city want to go too much in debt to host it? And yeah, I understand that the next ones are on the Gold Coast after this year, and I think they're still struggling to get someone to put their hands up to host the 22 games.
You've seen New Zealand perhaps under talk of Christchurch. It might be good timing. That could be a hope.
Do you think maybe they should spread it around a bit, Tom? Instead of a city hosting it, a country should host it, so that say it was New Zealand, so you could have 2 or 3 cities hosting various events. I mean, you'd lose a little bit of that nice, everyone eating in the dining room.
You could do it perhaps around the South Island, perhaps Christchurch, Dunedin, and go share it around, and that would keep it perhaps, landlocked, in the same land. Yeah,
you could do that, but I mean, you wouldn't have quite the village atmosphere, so you'd lose that. But if you're trying to make it so that people want to host it. The other thing is you do not want new facilities built for it. You don't want countries getting themselves many, many millions of dollars in debt. And there are enough facilities in the world you think we could host a Commonwealth Games without it. I suppose the trickiest thing is the accommodation.
With the Olympics, though, it's spread out, isn't it? The London Olympics are spread all over England, weren't they, virtually?
Well, the football matches were, that's true. And then they had yachting down on the coast, so that was another 80, 100 miles away. So that's true. And I remember back as far back as Korea, the yachting was held in Busan. You had to get a plane to fly there to see it. Or in Atlanta, it was held in Savannah, which was 5 hours drive.